What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. This video was filmed exclusively for odds.com. If you missed the podcast, please click the link below. Check out the full video over at odds.com. Make sure you smash that like button, and good luck on all your action. Thank you so much for the support and have a wonderful week. Let's roll. All right, here we go. We're talking Alistair Overeem taking on Alexander Volkov, and you see me getting excited because I already broke this one down. If you guys turned in to my show last week, if you listened to the podcast this past week, you know that I have overextended myself. I've made a big mistake. I've put way too much money on Alexander Volkov. I am 7 units deep on Alexander Volkov. I put 7 units to win 4 on Alexander Volkov. It's the biggest bet that I have ever made, and yeah, I'm a little nervous about it. I should have done 5. And I went 7 like an idiot. That's my bad. So your boy's putting his nuts on the table for this one, sacking up the big boy bet here on this opportunity. So if you missed last week's show, if you missed my full, very impassioned breakdown of this one, I'll give you the highlights. Oh, Aaron Miller, no hedge here, my friend. No hedge. No hedge here. Sticking to my guns on this one. If the Reem makes me pay, I'm going to have to wear that loss. And I'll be okay with it. Oh, so Alexander Volkov is a guy that's been, again, I've used this term a couple of times on this exact show. He's been the dark horse at heavyweight. This guy is incredibly underrated at heavyweight. Slick striker, outlands his opponents by more than 2 significant strikes per minute. Big volume, big power, precision striker, tons of experience. This guy's got 40 professional fights at the age of 32, 21 knockouts, 66% knockout rate. He's the full package. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. He's got great wrestling. You know, we saw his gas tank on full display against Curtis Blades 2 fights ago, where Curtis did everything he could to take this guy down. He was able to force Curtis Blades to work to the point that he gassed out Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades doesn't gas out, folks. Curtis Blades doesn't slow down. This man made Curtis Blades tired from wrestling. That's unheard of. In the late rounds, Volkov was the one who was actually turning it around and putting it on Curtis Blades. Very, very dangerous. Almost got the finish against Curtis Blades late in that fight. Incredibly impressive, even in a loss. He did the same thing to Fabricio Werdum back when Werdum was championship caliber 3 years ago. Took him deep, defended everything he had, and then crushed him in the 4th round when he had nothing left to give. Volkov is extremely dangerous in these types of fights because he can wrestle all you want, and then he's got all the power for days, even late in a fight. Alistair Overeem is 40 years old. That's our rule. We don't bet on 40-year-old fighters unless we've got a damn good reason to do so. And you know what? We have been on Alistair Overeem, and we've been on him a lot lately. I don't want to disrespect this man. He is one of the absolute best MMA fighters that has ever walked the face of the planet. He is not to be underestimated. He is savvy. He is skilled everywhere. He's a good wrestler. He's got good submissions. He's got that significant striking ability, former Glory kickboxing champion. He is the complete package. The only problem is Alistair Overeem doesn't have a chin anymore. He's got massive durability issues. He cannot take a punch. Every time this guy steps up in competition, every time he starts to fight a younger fighter that belongs in the top 5 or top 6, he gets knocked out. All right. Now, we got robbed against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Alistair Overeem did exactly what he was supposed to do in that fight. He stayed on the outside. He picked at the man at the right distance, and then he closed the distance and he grappled with him. He exposed that wrestling issue for Jairzinho Rozenstruik. But you know what? He got tired. He slowed down in the 4th round. He slowed down more in the 5th round. And by the final 2 minutes of the 5th round, Alistair Overeem was fighting for his life in there. And it created the opportunity for Jairzinho to step in and land an absolute bomb after losing 20 minutes of a 25-minute fight. 4 seconds. That's all we needed from Alistair was 4 more seconds to cash a big ticket against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and he couldn't do it. The UFC gives Alistair Overeem a little bit of a step down. They throw him Walt Harris. Walt Harris is supposed to come in fighting off the death of his daughter, coming back. It's a big moment. The fairy tale. Remember what I told you all about fairy tales? Fairy tales don't exist in MMA. They don't happen. Walt Harris was supposed to win that fight. He clocked Alistair Overeem in round 1, had him on skates. Alistair Overeem is extremely lucky that Walt Harris doesn't have a ground game and doesn't have a gas tank. He took him down in the second round and he TKO'd him. If Walt Harris had a better gas tank, if he had any type of ground game whatsoever, Alistair Overeem is dead in the second round of that fight. Augusto Sakai. Alistair Overeem did not look good against Augusto Sakai. He survived for the first 3 rounds of that fight, and then once Augusto Sakai started to slow down, that's when he turned it up. Augusto Sakai does not have good takedown defense. Augusto Sakai has no grappling to speak of. Alistair Overeem was an absolute monster in that area over Augusto Sakai, just a complete mismatch. And he smartly, intelligently waited for his opportunity late in the fight to be able to take that opportunity from a young fighter that is still green, still rough around the edges, still needs to be shown the ropes. Alistair Overeem gave him that veteran lesson and finished him in the 5th round when he had nothing left to give. If you watch that fight, Alistair Overeem used the same exact takedown on repeat to get that fight to the floor. Augusto Sakai could not make adjustments. He got hit with the same exact technique repeatedly, and he didn't adjust to it, and he paid for it. Alistair Overeem is 4-1 in his last 5. The 4 victories he has: Sergey Pavlovich, TKO first round, a fighter that is still green, still rough around the edges, doesn't know what he's doing. He took advantage. Alexei Olenek, a fighter who is way past his prime, doesn't have a gas tank, and if he can't get you to the floor, gets knocked out. He TKOs him first round. Lost to Jairzinho. We know what we had there. He had the opportunity, but he showed the weakness of his gas tank. He showed the fact that even though he knows what he needs to do, his 40-year-old frame can't always keep up with it for as long as he needs to. Walt Big Ticket Harris, a fighter with no gas tank and no ground game. Augusto Sakai, a fighter with no gas tank and no ground game. His losses: Stipe, Francis, Curtis, Jairzinho, the guys who do have a takedown defense game, the guys who can grapple, the guys who hit hard as fuck, and the guys who belong at the top of the division. This is Volkov's moment. This is when Volkov steps up into the top 5 of the heavyweight division and announces himself as a contender. This man is experienced. This man has an incredible gas tank. This man just put on 20 pounds worth of muscle, and he flatlined Walt Harris in his last fight in the second round after Walt Harris worked so hard to put it together and train better and come out with a better gas tank, a smarter game plan. Alexander Volkov was having none of it. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. Alexander Volkov is everything that we need to beat Alistair Overeem. Alistair Overeem, as an underdog, is extremely, extremely tempting. And a lot of people are going to be riding that dog money. And I get it. I get it. Trust me, I do. Especially with the run that he has been on. He is the guy that's a good bet right now. He's the guy that feels good. He's the guy that you know is going to fight for that money at plus money. But I think this is a worst case scenario for him. I think this is just an awful, awful bad stylistic matchup for him. I think that Alistair Overeem, you rewind that clock 5 years, sure, he wins this fight. But Volkov has the experience. He's been there before. He knows what he's doing. He's got an 8-year youth advantage here. I think at this stage of their careers, Volkov hits harder than Alistair Overeem. And of all the people that Alistair Overeem has fought, Volkov might be the only one who can actually stand with him. When we're talking technical striking, Volkov is probably the only one who is actually capable of surviving in that realm with Alistair Overeem. And again, we talked about how Alistair Overeem knows better than to test his chin. He knows he's chinny. He knows he's not durable anymore. He can't take a punch, so he takes these people down. You can't take down Volkov. He's going to have a hard time taking down Volkov, because if he does take down Volkov, Volkov is getting right back up. Right back up. Alistair Overeem is going to gas out before Alexander Volkov does if he decides to wrestle. I don't see a path to victory for Overeem unless he throws caution to the winds and says, I'm going to knock this guy out in the first round. If Alistair Overeem takes his brain, all that intelligent MMA knowledge, years of experience that he has, and just chucks it out the window and says, I'm going to knock this kid out, That's the only way I see it happening. And you know what? Volkov is hard to knock out. He has only been knocked out twice in his entire career. And the only one of those knockout losses in the last decade came against Derek the Black Beast Lewis with literally 1 second left on the clock after a 15-minute fight that he dominated bell to bell, and he dropped his guard for just 1 second. I have a really hard time believing that Volkov is going to drop his guard in the first round of this fight and give Overeem the opportunity to land a bomb that he doesn't see coming. I like Volkov here, folks. I like Volkov here a lot. Minus 175 is not enough, in my opinion. And I laid the wood on him hard at minus 175. This line has been bouncing back and forth all week. As you can see, the peaks and valleys here. Every time money comes in on Volkov, money comes in the other way on Overeem. The minus 200s are starting to pop up. The minus 190s are starting to pop up. If you can still get Volkov at minus 175 or minus 180, I like it. I think he should be a minus 250 favorite here. It's a spot that I am extremely zoned in on. I like this spot. I think Volkov has a big opportunity to do a lot of damage here. And as much as I hate to say it, there's no fairy tales in MMA. And I think Overeem's hopes at UFC Gold die here. I think he gets knocked out by Volkov. I think Volkov is going to string him out. I think Overeem's going to try to use the grappling. I think that he's going to end up getting tired, getting gassed, and Volkov will clip him in the third or the fourth round. I am going to sprinkle rounds 3, 4, and 5 on Volkov. And you know what? Actually, I say that. Normally, I would do that. I have 7 freaking units on Volkov. I don't know if I'm actually going to do it. I might have to just for the bragging rights, because anybody that sees this thing on Twitter, if I'm screaming at the camera, if I'm 5 shots deep and I'm screaming at everybody that I cashed on Volkov round 4 KO, I told you so, but I didn't tweet that I actually bet Volkov round 4, it's not going to look all that great. So as much as I don't really want to risk any more on this fight, I've already got too much on it, I might have to sprinkle rounds 3, 4, and 5 for Volkov. The prediction is Volkov round 4, folks. Volkov round 4 knockouts. And what do we have for Volkov in round 4? It is 11-1, my friends. 11-1. 11-1. I'm ready. Is it Friday yet? I want to watch these boys weigh in. I want some post-weigh-in reads. I want to see who's fat, who misses weight. I'm ready. I'm ready. I hope you are too. I hope you're ready with me.